right, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here. We already know what we are talking about anyways. But to share a few insights, I'd like to hear from you first. What do you think, or how far do you think financial inclusion can help refugees in Rwanda and beyond? I'd like to start with Aissatou.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that question. I think that, I forgot the question.
How far do you think financial inclusion can help refugees in Rwanda and beyond?
Oh, definitely. It can help a lot. You were just talking about how many refugees we have here in Rwanda.
Yep.
We have about 135,000 refugees in Rwanda that have been here in an average of 15 to 20 years, mainly from Burundi and from the DRC Congo. So we are trying to make sure that these refugees are part and parcel into the economic development of their country of asylum, who have generously hosted them over these years. So having access to finance is a way of empowering them, is a way of building their resilience, but also is a way of building their self-reliance. Because what we want for refugees in general, globally, is that they live a dignified life and they take charge of their own destiny. Because in this region in general, and even globally, refugees tend to stand more and more in longer periods in asylum and in exile. So a lot of years pass through, and their life needs to also be built so that they can participate. Because here in Rwanda, half of the refugees are less than 25 years old. So you can imagine that youth waiting in exile. We have to make sure that they are included, and financial inclusion is one of them to empower them.
Thank you very much for that very succinct answer. I'd like to pose the next question to Philippe now. Building on your response, how can we build a reliable and consistent system that grants refugees access to financial tools and, and education? And after your answer, I'd like to also hear from Esther regarding that question.
Thank you very much. To build a reliable and consistent system, I think we first need to pursue the refugee integration and inclusion process. In Rwanda, we have started, and I think we are halfway. With over 90% of refugees provided with legal documentation, meaning the ID, identity card, that allows almost similar privileges as for nationals, with a possibility to open a bank account, to own a phone, because 92% of the refugee households own at least one phone. To have a possibility to run a business, to apply for a job. This is a good step achieved, and that we need to continuously achieve if we want to sustain. In Rwanda also, refugees are fully integrated into education system. We don't have schools for refugees and a school for nationals. They all study in the same classes. Considering that all refugee camps, the 5 of them that we have here in Rwanda, are connected to electricity, national grid, and I think 27% of the refugees have access to internet. Those are steps in integration that we need to pursue to make sure that refugees are fully part of the society, and then that they can be able to contribute to development efforts. What remains is maybe to continue empowerment. It's not enough to own an ID card or a phone or a bank account. It is more important that those tools are used to ensure growth and sustainability. It is what the government and stakeholders are trying to do, coming up with a graduation strategy, graduating refugees from full dependency. And we believe that graduation leading to self-reliance and also pursuing that integration into our national systems will make refugees contributing. And we believe this financial technology is one of the tools that will not only bring more opportunities, but also allow to create new type of jobs that are required for the youth, as the rep was mentioning, to make sure we make this a success.
Thank you very much for that. And I'm going to ask my next question based on what you said. You said the ID cards have been provided, which enables refugees to have bank accounts. Now, to Esther, who works with Modiant, which is a refugee-founded initiative, a non-governmental organization, what benefits do you think refugees can bring to Africa's economy to help them thrive and also help Africa at large thrive?
Thank you, Noah. My name is Esther, and I'm the country director for Mondia Initiative. And before I answer your question, I'm going to take like a different angle building from what the PS has said. In Rwanda, like the PS has said, we have the system already. It's not that the system is not there. It is already there set for us. And as a refugee-led organization, and an organization that was founded by a refugee to give back to his community, it is something that shows you that the environment is there and inclusivity is guaranteed. And even though we have not yet reached there, but like the PS says, we are already halfway somewhere. And to give an example, Mondia started Mondia Initiative during the COVID period, a time when everyone was like in the darkness, and we were wondering what is the way forward. And for the refugees, it was even worse because for them, they have like limited access to some of the things. And then he started, he's like, I've been here 30 years. This country has educated me. I have access to go to the US and then come back and then meet a lot of people. And these are opportunities he has gotten when he was here. And therefore he decided to give back to the community where he came from and also the surrounding communities. So to me, I believe that we already have the right policies, we have the right strategies. Like the PS was talking about, the education system is very inclusive as far as all refugees are concerned, and no one is left out. And therefore, when it comes to FinTech, it is also very, very key that they are not left behind, because these are people that are now coming to your question of, you know, what they can bring on board. These are people that have the talent. For us who are working on the ground, and maybe Pauline will also shed some more light about it, for us who are on the ground and working with the refugees on a daily basis, we've come to realize that these people have the talent that the governments can harness, can, you know, tap into, and they have the skills. Here in the room, I have my colleagues who are MI staff, but they're in software engineering, and they are very good at it. They are building apps, they are doing a lot of things in technology, and when you're speaking to them, they have the talent. So with the facilitation of the government giving them the IDs for identification, they can be able to go into the labor market and also offer their talent. Actually, the challenge would be that the employers have not yet understood that these people have the talent. And that is something maybe we shall be tapping into later on into the discussion. Employers need to open up the space and don't look at an ID saying a refugee, but look at someone who has the talent and tap into that. And they can do wonders for them. Refugees also are into a lot of activities in the country. They're into farming, they're into businesses. They're also doing mobile money. It is actually even the biggest that they are doing. Banks may be centralized, but when it comes to mobile money businesses, there are very many in the camps and all that. And so you realize they also have a lot that they are contributing. And when it comes to farming, they are growing on a large scale with the support of government, giving them lands where they can be able to plow and serve the market that is available. And there is no limitation of saying, you're refugees, so you don't have to tap into this market. It is all open for them. So I believe that they have a lot they play as far as the development of an economy is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like Pauline to also add to that. How do you think refugees can contribute to Africa's economy, starting with Rwanda, for example?
Okay, thank you so much, Noah. Just to add on what they've said, I would want to say that there's already an enabling environment based on the experience we have here in regards to transitioning refugees from dependency on aid, humanitarian, to economic empowerment. And I'll be very specific using the example of a pilot project that we did 3 years ago, which just ended last year, where together with MINEMA, UNHCR, and other partners, we were reaching out to 3,000 refugees. 3,000 refugees, 70% of them refugees, 30% from host community. And one of at the end of the 3 years, we did an evaluation, and the outcome was astounding because we adopted the graduation, the ultra-poor graduation model, because we achieved 99.5% graduation rate and of the 3,000. And why did this happen? Because of the approach, the principles behind that. And we have 5 principles. One of them, financial inclusion is one of them, but before financial inclusion, very, very important, social empowerment. Very, very important, social empowerment, because that's when you get refugees, you restore hope, because you are dealing with people who have lost hope. So we teach them a process. There's a process we call empowered worldview model that we use. So restoration of hope. Then after that, you teach them that we have resources available, and resources include government policies. Like I think PS just mentioned about freedom of movement, access, legal documentation, all those things are there. We have partners on the ground that are resources that you can use. Then once you finish that, teach them how to vision. Vision. And by then, they're able to identify what are the targets for their graduation. And with that, given that they have come out of the thing that they are not alone, then you start teaching on how to coexist, how to work with others. And that also includes even within families, because you cannot start talking about livelihood, resilience, or financial inclusion if the two couples are not working together. So we find that because of the mentorship and coaching progress in it, they're able to pick the fact that high numbers were actually families who are living in conflict. But because, again, of models like celebrating families, they are taught how to live together and in the community. Now, that's the first bit, because once you handle that, you are managing transformation in the mind. The heart, mind, before you go to the pocket, we call it. Before you tackle transformation in the mind and heart, then you can go to the pocket. That's how you come in with the financial inclusion. And through this pilot, we've identified challenges, and which I believe FinTech can also onboard in regards to getting refugees actually be more economic empowered, even more, particularly using digitalization technology and things like that. But for financial inclusion, I think one of the things that we recognize, using what we are calling transformation, saving for transformation, because it's an informal system, because the formal system is a little bit challenged, whereby they're not able to access, but with the informal, which is actually more effective, they encouraged to work in groups, and they have saving groups where they can be linked to, actually we are linking them to MFI like Vision Fund and others that are on the ground. And with that, then they are able to get loans, small loans, but at least it's beginning. One of the things that identified, just emphasizing on that, is financial education, because it's here that they're taught how to bank, how to save money, how to lend, borrow, and so on. So I believe, based on that experience, where the refugees are positioned in regards to contributing to the business within the countries, whether it's Rwanda, because I also know of how many of them doing so well in other countries because of the unique talents and experiences that they have, or ideas they have contributing to the business. And apart from that, even employment. Because one of the project participants in Mahamakam, she's called Aina. She's doing water, liquid soap, and she's employed 10 people. So they're actually contributing towards creating a job opportunity for not only in Rwanda, but across the board. One thing that I also want to mention around that pilot is the livelihood program promotion. Because with the livelihood program promotion, then we're able to see them having targeted training, skill training, and also linking them to, like if the ones who are picking specific areas like agriculture, then we have platform. So the thing about FinTech is actually creating an environment where they can be, awareness can be raised for them to utilize platforms that they can know, okay, it's better to do, for example, if you want to do farming, you need to plant at this season. Or if you want to do marketing or business in potatoes, where do you get those potatoes? You know, that kind of available platform for them, I think it will even get them to greater height. Just giving example. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those were fantastic examples. They were also insightful. I'd like to ask four of you a really important question that I feel people here would like to know. You interface with refugees at different times of their lives. Sometimes it may be immediate displacement. What do you think FinTech companies, which some of them are present here, what do you think they need to build to support refugees in their products that will help them? I'd like to start from Esther, then Aissatou, Pauline. What do you think these FinTech companies need to build in their products that can support or help refugees directly?
What I think is that before the building, I think FinTech companies also need to first try to assess, because when you look at refugees, sometimes our needs are not uniform. So their needs may not be the needs that any other person might be needing. The relevancy of your product needs to resonate with them. So to me, I feel before even they sell a product, they need to first find out, do that assessment, do that research, and find out the specific needs or the specific products that might be relevant for them. And then also secondly is that when they are building this, they also need to put into their mind the vulnerability and the background of the refugees, what they've gone through, the traumas and all that, and assess if this is going to be something they can be able to use or not. Or for example, let me take an example of a refugee woman who is staying in the camp and does not have a smartphone but has this small phone, and she has like 5 kids to look after and has no time for the phone, and all the time she's into her unpaid care work. So if you're trying to build a FinTech product for that woman, what would it be? It has to be a product that she's going to see and feel like, this one is not going to take me away from my family. It is going to help me in building my home and stuff like that. So I feel like before even that comes into play, they need to make that specific assessment in order to make sure that the product they are bringing is going to be usable for them, is going to be something that is relevant to make sure that they are able to use it. Otherwise, they may not use it. For example, let me say like the mobile money app that MTN has, or the e-cash. It is very, very relevant to a refugee. Why? Because even when she's in a camp, she can be able to send money to another, to a son who is in Kigali in a university, who has, let me say, an Airtel number, and she's having an MTN number, and she does not need to travel to Kigali in order for her to send that money. So that would be really very, very relevant. But sometimes some apps may not be very relevant. So it is very crucial for them to like have that into mind and then bring products that are very relevant to refugees. I'll offer it to Aissatou.
Right, Aissatou.
Thank you for that question. You may think that in Rwanda everything is fine, the refugees are, from what you've heard.
Yep.
Indeed, the environment, the framework, the legal framework is there. They have a lot of rights the refugees are given to. But I would like to maybe pitch it at much more global level, because FinTech really need to help refugees, all forcibly displaced people around the world. So the first problem that a refugee needs is to have an identity, an ID card, let's put it that way. Documentation is very key. And I think what FinTech could do is how do you make sure that wherever refugees are, they have access to their digital identity, for example. If you don't have a digital identity, which is the case here, by the way, if you don't have a digital identity, you're not recognized. How can you access financial services? So I think that is very key. First thing is really have the digital identity. For me, that's where you start the inclusion, how you can be recognized and start the inclusion. Second thing, my colleagues have mentioned it, is about access to mobile money. And that is very relevant to the case of Rwanda. Because in Rwanda, I think the rate of penetration is about above 80%. We can say 80% of the population have access to mobile money. And I think that really can help. It's a key driver, including refugees and all that. Once they have the digital identity, with the penetration level of the mobile money, I think that that's a key driver for financial access. That's one thing. The other thing that we also do here in Rwanda and elsewhere is more and more we don't assist refugees in kind. It's something that is disappearing. More and more we are doing cash transfers. When it comes to the food or any other services, it's good to do it through mobile money, cash transfers, and I think that is very, very interesting because it also boosts the economic participation of the refugees because they are consumers at the same time, they can buy for their needs. Another element that is important is to make sure that we have a policy and legal enablers. As we mentioned here, the government of Rwanda does that. That is a given here. But I think that what we can do more is to make sure that we can have kind of cross-border or harmonization of policies. Because as you know, refugees find themselves usually at the border of countries. So I think in this region, having an EAC, East Africa community, policy harmonization that would how do we say it, would facilitate kind of financial mobility for refugees, I think that's one element that could be helpful. And then the financial, the FinTech firms, private sector, public sector, together, I think that they can help also, to scale up these kind of solutions. But another element that she also mentioned was about literacy, financial literacy for the refugees. Because if you give them those tools, they don't know how to operate it, it doesn't help them that much. So I think that even if we have financial platforms, you don't also educate refugees and help them to, train them in that field, that also we will not be able to, it's not a solution that is adapted. And then of course, adapting also those financial products to their needs, because many of them do some remittances, sending or receiving money, so that also we need to look into it. So those are the key elements I think that FinTech could do for refugees.
Thank you so much for that contribution, and I agree as well. Pauline, what do you have?
Okay, I'm trying to avoid repeating what they've said because I think they've exhausted, but having tech-driven solution, I think it's really, really key. Like I mentioned, I'm just using really basic, the saving transformation groups. Teaching them how do they make records, data, and how do they use that, because that information is so critical. Even if they wanted to access finances or access credit, they must have evidence through the records that they've kept. So that's really important. Mobile, digital payment is the same thing. I think they've mentioned about the project I'm just talking about. We've graduated from productive asset in kind to productive assets transfer. Cash transfer. So that digital payment is also very critical. Most of the refugees have gadgets. Again, teaching them how to use some functions they're not even aware of, but they can use them to also promote their businesses, entrepreneurship, and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe three of you have shared really insightful solutions that fintechs can use. So I have one final question. What complications or challenges arise with the integration of refugees into the labor force, and how can these challenges be overcome? Do you have any, Philippe?
Thank you very much. I think those challenges are also related to what the colleagues have been mentioning, in what the fintech can come in and try to help all this journey. But I can just mention a few. The main challenge, I would say, that is knowledge, especially professional training. For the case of Rwanda, if I can use it, the government has built many technical and vocational schools near refugee camps to benefit both refugees and the host communities, of course. But they are still insufficient considering the numbers of people we are trying to support. But beyond the infrastructure, we also need to leverage on the curriculum. Do we really align the current curriculum with the needs? All these financial technologies we are talking about, are we sure our institutions, our organizations are sufficiently aware of them, the best way they can make use of them, so that they can also contribute to the graduation, to the transition we are talking about. Another challenge is, may be the size of the labor market. There is a need to continuously create opportunities and possibilities so that the market absorbs the maximum of the labor force, including on the refugee side. Lastly, we need to continue ensuring that laws and policies and strategies, not only on the government side, but also those of different partners and stakeholders, they continue to allow integration so that the refugees benefit from the country systems, the organizational systems, these fintech tools and offers. This process has to happen. Of course, it has to be considerate of the potentials, of the possibilities, but definitely it is the way to go. The quicker the systems are open to the refugees, the quicker the refugees will contribute in a positive way.
Thank you very much. I agree with you on your contribution. Before we come to an end, is there anybody in the audience who have questions for our panelists? Are there any questions? Okay, yes, Aissatou wants to add.
What peers have mentioned, I think that the barriers and the challenges that refugees also face in general is really the recognition of their skills. We need to make sure that we have a system that recognizes the skills, the qualification, the competencies of refugees so that they can be part and parcel of the labor force or the workforce wherever they find themselves. The other elements that also we can add is usually refugees have language and cultural barrier. It's important that we also do some training in order to make sure, also mentorship or coaching, to make sure that those barriers can be overcome. Last but not least is also access to resources and professional networks in terms of, as I said, mentorship, internship, to have those spaces that are open to them so that they can also leverage and make sure that their capabilities are recognized. And also access to the labor market. I think the labor market, usually they are, particularly here, you can find sometimes that it's a bit stretched. So I think maybe with FinTech, they can have access to, you call it what, digital market. Digital market could be an area where we can solve this kind of constraints and where refugees can strive and also be part and contribute to the economies, the local economies.
Thank you very much for that contribution. All right. Yes, please.
Yeah, I think also another component is the issue of employers opening the doors. It is a very great challenge, like when a refugee presents their national ID, which says a refugee, then you find that it becomes like a setback because the employers are not yet aware that refugees have like that right. They don't know that there is a policy that allows them to work in the hosting country. And therefore, when they give them that ID, they look at the element of, like for example, my national ID will say I'm Rwandan, and then it's okay. But when someone says it's a refugee, someone now starts saying, oh, this one, UNHCR is going to resettle them, blah, blah, blah. And you find that there are some issues which will hinder the employers from giving these guys the opportunity, and yet they have the talent, they have the skills, but they are not taking them on just because they're refugees. So to me, I believe such a challenge also would be solved by creating such forums whereby you can have, if we could have this whole room full of employers and showing them that the policies are there and they allow them to employ these people as long as they have the skills and they have the papers and they can be able to deliver. And actually, working in a refugee-led organization, I have seen that they are more retainable than others. Because for them, when you give them a job, they feel like, I mean, it's like a gift to them. It's like, it means a lot. They cannot stand to make a mistake and be fired because they know that their families are depending on it. If employers would also really be able to open, that is also another thing that would help a lot, but that's also another challenge that we are having. But at Mondia Initiative, we are doing that. We are trying to do these workshops, bring different players, the private sector, the government is always there, and we try to educate people around the employability of refugees and retention for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.